a series called Generations, where we're looking at different generations and specifically focusing on the younger generation. And even as you sit here today and you think, well, I don't have kids, I don't need to think about that. No. Thinking about the next generation, you should want to lean in more than you've ever leaned in before. How do we raise godly children? How do we raise the next generation? Because if you don't, no one else will. And it doesn't mean we ignore other generations. It just means right now we're focusing on that. I think it's one of the priorities, the purpose, the main things of life is to look and invest into other people. And I think it's a key to life. I think it's essential to life is to invest into other people. I don't know about you, but I got this son, Boston. He's 7 years old. I got 3 kids. I got Boston and Beckham and Berkeley, and I get home and they're like, your kids are so different. If you don't have kids yet, just get ready for that day. Like, they're just so different. And I get home and I look outside and Beckham and Berkeley are wearing backpacks. And they've got spoons from the kitchen. And they're digging. I go, Carol, what are they doing? She's who? I said, Tweedledum and Tweedledoo. Like who? What are these guys doing? She's like, I don't know. Beckham came in, asked for spoons, now they're digging. And I was like, okay. Like, legitimately 45 minutes later, they came back. What have you guys been doing? Digging. What have you been doing? Don't ask questions like that, Dad. I was like, okay. And then Boston's sitting at the table. And he's got his first field trip the next day. He's so excited. He's going to the zoo. He's got like the map of the zoo out, and like he's got like in his backpack he put his sunglasses. No one's helping him. No one's telling him anything. He's got sunglasses. He's got his hat. I go, did you put your hat in? He goes, yeah, it's gonna be hot. I don't want to get sunburned. Did you put your sunglasses in? Like, yeah, the sun's out, dude. Like, come on. Okay. He put sunscreen in there. He put snacks in there. He put like gummy bears. Like, he had all this stuff in his bag. He's like, hey, mother. And like if you know when your kids learn your name? He's like, Kara. It's mom to you. Listen, whoever you are right now, mom, Kara, it doesn't matter. Someone needs to make me a sandwich. I'm going on a field trip tomorrow. We're like, what are you doing? And later that day, like, we opened up his bag and we saw all these things in there. And what he essentially did is he took like his essentials, like, I've got a big day tomorrow, and how am I going to have all the things I need to get through that day, to go have the best version of that day? Saturday morning, I went golfing. So Friday night, what am I doing? Making sure I got my tees, making sure I have enough balls, because I'm going to lose some people. Like, making sure I got my things, I have my essentials. And as you raise a family, as you grow in a relationship with God, as you grow in a relationship with another person, you have to have essentials to your relationship with God. What are the most important things that you could walk with Him? Because if you don't have a plan to fight for your relationship with Jesus, you will lose the fight. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 14 reads it this way. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 14 reads it this way. Told you. It's kind of like magic. Has this sentence in here that we have underlined that just says, fight for your families. On this Father's Day, may we be a church and people who fight for families. We don't passively just walk through life. We don't just allow life to happen to us. We fight for them. We have a plan to fight. We know that we're going to fight. We work towards that fight. So when it happens, we know how to even fight. And I'm not talking like physically, like no. Put your fisticuffs down. Spiritually, how do you fight for your family? You fight for these things. And I read this passage and I read this moment, and I think the essentials of life are created by intentional decisions in life. I think the essentials of life, the things that you put in your bag, are created by a series of decisions. See, the things that you live out are the things that you think are most important to you. This afternoon, what's most important to me is one thing. It's the U.S. Open. It's so important that I will sit inside and like go, oh, it's sunny out. But you think Tiger can come back? Like maybe. Like there's always hope, right? Like it's it's so important. So on my Father's Day, that's all I want. And then I'm going to go to Snohomish Golf Course with my boys, and I'm going to play the mini loop. Amen. I mean, like, the essentials of life are created by intentional decisions. What intentional decisions are you making that show you what are essential to your life? Water, air, shelter, food, sleep. They say those are the essentials. So I want to go through 5 different things that are the most essential thing in your life when you're walking out a relationship with God. The 5 most essential things that you could ever have to walk out a relationship with God. The first one is this. I hope you're taking notes. This is absolute gold for you. Not just because I'm saying it, but that helps. But because it's the truth. The first thing that you need that's essential to your life is your faith. Your faith. The operative word here is not faith. The operative word here is your. Far too often do we live out our parents' faith, our friends' faith, the stories we hear faith. No, you need to find your faith in Christ, your walk with him, your move with him, your faith in Christ. As you walk with him, as you grow with him, there is a whole lot more to God than Sunday. If your faith is only lived out on Sunday, you've reduced him to an hour version of a sovereign God. He's not an hour version. He's an everyday. He's gone before you and he'll go after you. He wants to be with you and walk with you. The faith doesn't lead to religion. It leads to it's authentic. It's real. John 10 says, my sheep know my voice. I think the greatest families are families. The greatest families are families with God at the center of it. The greatest marriages are marriages with God at the center of it. The greatest relationships are relationships with God at the center of it. Do you know what those things have in common? God and turbulence. Just because God's at the center of your life doesn't mean you're going to have a distraction-free, safe, man, the kids they're never going to drink or smoke. They're not going to do anything bad. No. It means that you're building a foundation so when they do live life, they have something to always come back to. They have something to always return to. Life can happen, but a foundation is built by godly moms and dads. But a foundation for people to return to, that's built by godly moms and dads that show their family their faith, and their kids see that and they want that. Or your friends see that. Your coworkers see that. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 26 puts it this way. It says, reverence for the Lord gives a man deep strength. His children have a place of refuge and security. See, when you got reverence for the Lord, your children will know back. Refuge is a safe place to go to. They'll know that the church is a good thing. They'll know that God is a good God. They won't look at it as, no, I'll get judged there. No, there's condemnation. They'll say, no, the place where I was always loved was the church. The place that person I was always loved by was God. When families show this, your family is so important. This is essential to your life. This is like air to your life. This is like oxygen. This is like sleep. This is like food. This is like shelter. This is how you'll get through life. And don't have someone else's faith. Have your own faith. See, I think what's essential to your life is your faith. I think the second thing that's essential is your schedule. Oh, this will get you. The schedule is so important. Some of my greatest families are families that know how to say no. You know what I call my week? I like theming my week out. Does anybody else name days of the week? Cool, the only one. You gotta be kidding me. No one else has names for their days? You got nothing? Brody's days are like arrest you Monday. Sentence you on Tuesday. Yeah, I got days. Push paperwork on Wednesday. Like that's Brody's life. No. Okay, little snapshot in my life. Meat Monday. My goal on Monday is to eat meat. Like, that's my goal. I want to have meat. Like I tried being a vegetarian and then that afternoon finished. Like, I'm a meat Monday. Listen, if God created animals for us to eat, go read your Bible. You eat it, I'm going to eat it. If you don't, that's fine for you. But for me and my house, we're going to eat some meat. So meat Monday. Together Tuesday. My goal is to gather people on Tuesdays. I want to be with people. I want to be with my staff. I want to be with my people. Like, I want to be with it. Wreck It Wednesday. I'm going to wreck stuff for the kingdom on Wednesday. Not like push it over like you broke the lamp, but I want to just wreck stuff on Wednesday. Wednesday's my most inspired day of the week. Last Chance Thursday. I turn my sermon on Thursday. We make sure staff's got their stuff done on Thursday. Like, I want to be done. Friday, I call it 3B Friday, my big baller brand. I got Boston, I got Beckham, I got Berkeley, and they just got traded to the Pelicans. Like I want my big baller brand. I focus on my kids on Fridays. My kids. Ask my kids, what's dad's favorite day of the week? It's not Sunday with you. It's Friday with them. They're my first church. They're my first house. You're my second house. I will always choose them over you. Always, always, always. And so when you look at my family and the purpose of that and that life we get to live, when you walk out with that I say, I love Saturday. And then Sunday fun day. You know, every Monday I talk to my dad. Every Tuesday I talk to my mom. Every Wednesday I talk to my brother. Every Thursday I talk to my sister. Every Friday is dedicated to my kids. Every Saturday I focus on my wife. And every Sunday I focus on you. See, if you don't schedule out intentionality in your life will just be lived out and it'll be unintentional. You don't have time to waste. Life's too important. People are too important just to walk through life. I don't have enough time to waste time. I don't have enough time to waste time. Your schedule is such a powerful thing in your life. My alarm goes off every morning at 4:30 a.m. Do you know why? It's not because I like darkness in November. Please, Jesus, no. It's because I like my time with Jesus. And I've got a wife and 3 kids. I've got a job and people. And if I'm going to properly love them, I've got to wake up before them. I've got to be with God before them. Because my natural reaction is not to love them. My natural reaction is to be selfish for me. But if I'm intentional with my schedule, I can be intentional with everything else in my life. The average father, Cornell University put out this study. I was reading this last week. The average father in America spends 7 minutes with their children a day of intentional time. That's not sitting down in the same room. That's not you got the TV on and you're in the same room. That's 7 minutes of intentional focused time on your kids. The average American father spends 47 seconds a day with their toddler. It's not that they're not in the same room or listening to the cry or the needs, but it's time intentionally being invested into your children. If that's the way we treat our children, by gosh, how are we treating our friends? How are we treating our God? Your schedule is what man. If I'm packing my bag, I'm traveling. When I travel, I travel my favorite clothes. You don't travel and put like, oh, you know what? I think I like this shirt. I put the best outfits that I'm like, I crush that outfit. I crush that outfit. These shoes look amazing. I pack my bag and I know what I like. When I'm packing my backpack, I got my thing. I got my Bible. I got my light blue Gatorade. I love light blue Gatorade. We all know it's the best of the Gatorades. Like I love light blue Gatorade. And so like I got the essentials. I got my sunflower seeds, but I got spits. I don't got those Davids, those little seeds. I got spits. I got that dill pickle life. You know what I'm talking about. It's essential to my life. Psalm chapter 39, verse 6. We are all merely moving shadows, and all our busy rushing ends in nothing. Don't be complimented by being busy. Busyness is oftentimes a life that is ill-prepared, not a life lived of importance. The most important people I know are scheduled. The busiest and most neglected people I feel by are the busiest because they think it's important for their life. Busyness doesn't equal importance. Busyness oftentimes equals unprepared. We're just moving shadows over here. And all our busy rushing You only get so much time with your kids. You only get so much time with your family. You only get so much time on the service. You only get so much time. You only get so much time. You only get so much time. I want to be someone that just doesn't rush around. Make money just to make money. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 6 puts it this way. It said, it's better to have only a little with peace of mind than to be busy all the time. It's better to only have a little with peace of mind than to be busy all the time. So if I'm packing my bag, I got my light blue Gatorade, I got my Bible, I got my AirPods. Can't leave home without them. Always make sure my AirPods are charged up. I love, they're essential to my life. If I'm going to go, I can't read my Bible without my AirPods. My word, no way. Even if I don't have music on, I just like having them in. So if I'm looking at the things I need my faith, I need my schedule, and you need your purpose. You need your purpose. Our 7-year-old Boston, he's discovered this great, oh man, I just love it so much, and maybe your kids do this. They ask that question, why? Your kids ask why? Whose kids ask why? Your kids ask, my kids ask why. When they ask why, I think to myself, why am I not going to ground you right now? Why are you being so defiant and you don't trust me? Why don't I just send you to your room? Because that's kind of annoying. Like, you know what? But I realized the other day that he's looking for purpose behind the direction. See, so many of us, we don't know our purpose, so we don't know the direction of our lives. If you're living a life without purpose, you won't understand the direction. And so when you're going somewhere and God opens up doors, you'll think, why? Instead of, I might not know why, but I trust you. I don't know why you wrote it, but I trust you. Your purpose is imperative to your direction. And far too often we live a life and we don't know our purpose. I remind Boston all the time, your purpose is to be a light to the world. Your purpose is to love God and to love people. And when they ask the question back, well, who's my neighbor? God responds back to them. Jesus says to them and says, anybody in need. This is why we do things like Growth Track. This is why we invest into you. This is why we go through series like this, because it's so important. It's one of the most important things for your life that you understand your purpose. Why were you born? You'll never understand your direction if you don't understand your purpose. Never miss those moments of our lives. The fourth thing that's essential to your life are your relationships. Each week in this series, we've talked about purpose and relationships. The church is so important to gather. See, if you're someone who's gone church to church to church, oftentimes it's because you've missed out on the relationships in the church. You've looked at it as a place of information, not all the time, but you've looked at it as a place of information, and eventually the information will dry up because you never made any relationships. It does you no good to just meet in rows and not in circles. See, rows lead you to a place of circles so you can grow in depth. Rows lead you to a place where you grow in an experience. And you say, wow, I'm a part of something really big and really fun. Your purpose, those moments, you get to just be with your kids need friends. You need friends. You need accountability. You need people praying for you. If I can get, my purpose is, if I can get you into circles, and you make friends, you'll stay here. But if I can only get you into rows, you'll move right along. If we can get you into groups, July, we got these meetups coming up. Ladies, you've been doing sisterhood meetups all over the place. Like July, we're doing these things called meetups where we're just meeting up. People like to work out, and people like to bowl, and people like to read their Bibles, and people like to go hiking, and then meet up and go do it. Next weekend, there's a barbecue. It does us no good to offer things of relationship if you don't participate in the relationship. You'll always feel left out. You'll always, I just didn't feel connected there. Your friends are so important as you walk in your relationship with God. And I think the fifth essential, I got my Gatorade, I got my Bible, I got my iPad, I got my AirPods. This is like you got your phone, you got your wallet, and you got your keys. Like every day, you got that pat down. All right, I'm good. Like you got that moment where like I go, okay, I got my wallet, I got my phone because I'm a back pocket person. I don't understand people who put their phones in their front pocket. It's stressing. Or people who put wallets in their front pocket. You just got this big old, I don't get it. It's a back pocket. And there's, well, I'm afraid I'll sit down on it. Well, then take it out of your pocket. It doesn't seem like, it's just crazy to me. Anyways, so those are my essentials. I got my stuff. I'm ready to go. I've got my faith. I've got my purpose. I've got my relationships. The last thing, your grace. I think this is so important. Everybody say your. You'll never give something that you're... I think the difficulty with grace is sometimes we feel like it's awkward. Grace is only awkward if you don't know how to give it. You can't experience something that you've never given before, and once you experience His grace, you'll only want to give grace. You'll always want to give grace. You'll only want to give that love. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 32 says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another." Man, that's a novel one. Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ, God, forgave you. I was reading in Ecclesiastes. This reminded me of Ecclesiastes. This moment that I was reading in my devotional, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 5. There's this moment where it's just like it's like, oh, there's a time to do this and a time to do this. And then in verse 5 it says, there's a time to scatter stones and a time to gather stones. I think this is one of the most important things for us to experience today. There's a time for us to scatter stones and a time for us to gather stones. We took our daughter to the beach. You don't have to teach kids this. Berkeley, she's 2 years old. She picked up rocks and was like, sweet Jesus, that's what I'm talking about. She just, oh my word, there's just handfuls. There's more over here. Have you guys been, this is like Disneyland for like a kid. The boys are just throwing rocks and they're like just laughing and she's just a mess. I read this passage and I'm like, this doesn't make sense to me. There's a time to scatter stones? Yeah, sometimes you go to the beach. Gather stones? Like, what am I doing? Some rock work on the side of the house? Like, I don't get it, God. But this passage is actually out of a moment in Genesis chapter 31, verse 44. See, it says there's a time to gather stones and a time to scatter stones. I think this is one of the most important things, probably the reason why we gathered today. See, this moment comes out of Jacob and Laban. Jacob is the son, and he's trying to marry Laban's daughter. And Laban's just a bad guy. He goes and works for him so he can marry Laban's daughter, and he makes him work hard. He makes him, kind of go this way and go that way. He promises stuff, and he takes it away. And this makes Jacob so angry that with his family, he leaves in the middle of the night. And Laban finds out about this, and he goes after them. Because Laban could never keep his promises. And Jacob worked hard. And Laban didn't like it that even though everything was set up against him, he kept being blessed in the midst of it. Laban gets angry and Laban takes off after him. And an angel comes to Laban and speaks to him. As Jacob braces for this fight with Laban because the angel spoke to him, he told them not to fight him. He told them to stop, and he told them to pause, and he told them to make things right. And you catch this moment in Genesis chapter 31, verse 44. As Laban and Jacob go face to face, and there's animosity, and there's anger, and there's disappointment, and there's stabbing in the back, and there's these lies that have led their relationship. It says, "Come now, let's make a covenant, you and I. And let it serve as witness between us." So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. He said to the relatives, "Gather some stones." So they took stones and piled them in a heap. And they ate there by the heap. See, what they did is this model you see, where if you've ever been around and you see stones piled up together, where you see a rock here and a rock here and a rock here and a rock here. They put another one here, and they put another one here, and they put another one here, and they put one on top. They build this rock pile. What it is it's not this great moment that like, oh, wow, look at how beautiful that is. What it represents is forgiveness. It represents moments of awkwardness. It represents a story being told of forgiveness. And I think far too often in our relational culture, that's essential to our grace is knowing how to forgive, and knowing how to move forward, and knowing how to love, and knowing, see, nothing lasts forever. I think what God's saying to our church is it's a time to gather stones. It's a time, it's kind of like, it's like the airing of grievances. If you're a Seinfeld fan, it's airing of grievances. It's like biblical Festivus. Not a lot of Seinfeld fans. Okay, great. We're awkward anyways. It's fine. It's a time of like there's this airing of grievances where you sit in front of other people and your family members specifically, and you put a rock out and say, you hurt me. You disappointed me. Man, I didn't understand why you did this. Man, this hurt me too. And all of a sudden, these rocks represent forgiveness and moving forward instead of resentment. And far too many of our families don't gather together. We just scatter. Many of our relationships with our families are just like Berkeley and those rocks. Just, oh, heck no, I ain't feeling that. Oh no, I can't do none of that. Oh no, I'm going to do that. Instead of actually sitting down and talking, it's time that we gather stones. It's time that we move. See, parenting is a river. It's not a pond. Parenting will always give you opportunities and moments to send your children, or your children will leave. A church gathering will always be an opportunity that it will send people, or people will leave. And if it's not sending, people will just leave. If you're smothering, eventually your kids will just leave. You'll miss out on this opportunity. And I think there's three. See, if a family doesn't gather together, it will scatter. If a family doesn't gather together, I think we don't know how to do this because it hasn't been modeled in our lives. And I want to give you 3 rules to gather. Because as you attend church, you'll get offended. As you have a family, you'll get offended. You'll get hurt. And you'll even be right. You'll even be right in your offense, but these are your rules to sitting down at a table and gathering. These are your rules. The first one is this. You have to acknowledge your own mistakes. Acknowledge my mistakes. See, if we just live and we haven't made any mistakes, Craig Rochelle puts it this way. He says that you've got to own your 2% of the 100% of the offense. See, Romans puts it this way, chapter 3, verse 23. It says, for all, how many? All, every single one, you included, have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. You may have not committed the offense, but you played your part in the offense. And so often we don't confront because we want to be right. So often we don't confront because we just feel, oh man, I'm going to keep moving through this. I didn't do anything. Well, the Bible would say otherwise. Don't worry about the offense. Don't worry about far too often we don't know how to confront family members because we're so worried about their response. If you do it in the right timing, with the right heart, it's not about their response. It will always be about your admittance that you are wrong. You have to acknowledge your mistakes. I think the second way that you can sit down with a family, instead of scattering stones, you gather them and say, man, Dad, this hurt me. Mom, brother, sister, friends. You have to abandon your right to get even. This might be the most difficult. You're like, oh, mistakes? Yeah, no. I fall short of the glory of God. I'm good. I got that one. I think this is my favorite moment of fighting. This is it. My marriage, I love being right. That's my favorite moment when Kara's like, you know what, you're right. I'm like, yeah, I am. It's difficult for me not to say that back. You know, I am right. I'm right about a lot of things. This is one of them. You like to tell me some other thing? No. You have to abandon your right to get even. My sister and I, 2 weeks in a row, we went fisticuffs. 2 weeks in a row. She's a punk. She called me out about something, and I was like, My mom calls her the rose between two thorns. She's the middle child. I call her the thorn between two roses. But I've abandoned my right to be even. She's a punk. She's trying to talk trash about something, and so I handled it really well. I was very cordial as I told her to be quiet. But I had to own my stuff in the midst of it. Because there's a couple times where she said something where I was like, ugh, you're right. I had to say that. And if I didn't admit to that, we both would have lost. We have to give. We can't have that. Abandon the right to get even. See, Jesus didn't take revenge. Jesus forgave. If you're a Jesus person, you'll abandon the right to get even and you'll forgive. You'll abandon that right. You'll leave that. Romans chapter 12, verse 19. Do not take revenge, my friends, but leave room for God's wrath. For it is written, it is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. Judgment comes to everyone. So it does us no good to be the one to take on that ourselves. So you're going to sit down with your family, you're going to put those rocks out, which you all have this. You all have stuff. You have with friends, you have, man, this is how you do it. And I think the third way that you live a life of essentials, the fifth one that you have grace for people. I think the subpoint of this from Ecclesiastes and Genesis is give God's grace to your relationships. I want to give God's grace to my relationships. I want to give God's grace to my relationships. I don't want to give wrath. I want to give judgment. I want to be right. I want to give grace. You ever had that opportunity? Someone wronged you, or you wronged somebody. All hypothetical, of course. And you said, I forgive you. It almost like it takes people back. Because what they were ready for a fight, they got Jesus. When they were ready for a fight, they got hope. We'll close with this. And we're going to receive our 4x5 offering right now. If you want to go and get that ready. We're just giving to these kids, and we're so excited for the kids. Your generosity just amazes us always. It's just absolutely amazing. This UG camp that we go to, kids camp, unbelievable. As you get yourself ready, I just want to close with this last thought. In order to show Jesus being Lord of your life, show hope to your neighbors, you'll have to show his grace. You'll have to. It's so un-American. You should sue somebody, right? No, that's not a biblical principle, actually. But what you should do, say, I forgive you. And love people. Care for them. It's not this peace, love, and harmony thing. It's this Jesus thing. And it changes your reality. It changes what's important in your life. It changes. It's not in your notes today, but it says in 1 John chapter 4, verse 8 through 11, whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. He sent his one and only Son into the world that might live through him. This is love. Not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, this is from me to you, from the Bible to you. Dear friends, since God showed us love, we also ought to love one another. You got that narrative in your family? Oh, we're just dysfunctional. You don't have to be. Oh man, this is just the way we've always been. Stand up against that. Man, I've been carrying this offense for a long time. I bet you. I sat in a meeting this week where an offense happened 45 years previously. 45 years. I'm 35. 45 years. They finally, and because this meeting was ordained out of prayer and fasting, the response was, it was of forgiveness and of love and of grace and of peace. I left the meeting like, I've sat in a lot of those meetings. I left the meeting like, that doesn't happen. I'm telling you, for your families today, that can be your story. But you've got to be the one to sit down with your family and put some rocks down. But you got to do it that way. Because if you've been carrying it for years, let's go and abandon your way. It's not working. But your family's too important. Because we fight for families.